it's an oxymoron to say cautious optimism.
Yeah.
And this is really cool, Mike, and you're right. I mean, when we look at, and what you do for the industry is born out of the pandemic, that you offered up something through Paper Airplanes Hangar that is so needed, and you're hitting it right now at the perfect time. But you went into this business, Mike, you and your partners, and everyone who works with you, when people were going to give up on this industry, you went all in, you doubled down. I'm sincerely telling you this because you knew like I knew. And there were people rooting for the demise. What's up with that?
It's funny you say that because in talking to actually a reporter the other day, she asked me about, should we be worried that there's 500 fewer theaters than there were, 2019? And my answer to her was no. There are ebbs and flows in this business on a regular basis. When we had the bankruptcies in the early 2000s, what did we see? We saw a lot of theater closures. And what did we see after that? We saw dine-ins and specialty theaters replace those screens. So I believe we're in an ebb and flow. And, not that you want to see anything close, anybody lose their job, but for those 500 theaters that closed, the majority of them were just hanging on anyway.
And you know as well as anyone that back in 1999, the late 90s, there were bankruptcies all over this business.
Yes.
Theaters went bankrupt. Now, in the wake of that, we've had more records, more box office, more interest in going to movies than ever before. And like you said, we don't want anyone to go out of business. That's not good. We don't like that. If you can't weather the storm, that's not a good thing. You overuse this, Mike. We're a leaner, meaner business.
Yep.
And if on a per cap basis, on a, however you want to say it, or just on an emotional basis, if people are showing an interest in going to the movie theater when they have so many options at home, that says a lot about this business.
The other thing, too, is, and let's talk a little bit about what we've seen so far. Last night, Sony, killer presentation, I thought.
Yeah.
Some really strong product that's coming out of there.
Yep.
Today, we had the state of the industry, which was great.
Yep.
And then Warner's came in, and David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Discovery, came out and gave an impassioned speech about the value of theatrical. And he said something that really resonated with me, and it was, we are responsible for the stories. And it was all about the stories. The business part, it's there, but it's the stories. And when you think about the studios and the movies, you think about the stories that are attached to them. And that really hit home with
that resonated well. And I think, too, I kept hearing this buzz phrase, which really is apropos and works, which is great stories well told. I love that. And by the way, I even caught myself today, Mike. I was on another podcast, Stephen G. Smith, people.
What?
Love this guy.
Steve, come here, Stephen. Stephen, come here. Stephen, come here.
He's very shy, but he worked in radio for years.
Yes,
Oh, we can edit you out later. I'm kidding.
Stephen, will you let our listeners, because they're going to find this very interesting, what's a little of your background?
Well, I went to the same school as you, Cal State University Northridge.
Go Matadors.
And I do television, film.
Wait, you were in the RTVF department?
Yeah.
Wait, we did call it RTV
radio.
Did you have, do you remember Don Wood? Was he one of your professors? Oh, God, what a class that was. Anyway.
I got an internship my senior year in college to KLOS Radio 95.5, the rock and roll station.
Yes.
And it turned out to be a 21-year career. And I was fortunate enough to win Billboard Magazine's Rock Promotion Director of the Year.
That is awesome.
It was classic. So, and then I went into television, this classic television station, KDOC-TV, and I've been with Comscore, working with Paul, 13 plus years. So, the radio, television, and film thing just played out all the way.
That is fantastic. So in talking to Steve last night, we went and figured something out, and that was when he was at KLOS, he worked on the Fraser Smith morning show, and Mark and Brian, who came in after Fraser Smith. But way back when I was a manager of a theater in Westwood, there was a movie promotion for a film called Tag the Assassination Game. And Stephen, what was the big promotion?
Well, Fraser showed up in a tank in front of the theater, and I was there, crowd control, and we set the whole thing up that we gave away the tickets. And come to find out, who was the manager?
I was the manager, and who was the assistant manager?
There we go.
It's our colleague.
All right, Janice O'Brien, if you're listening.
It is absolutely such a small world, and when I heard that story, I just got a big smile on my face, because I always remember the tank rolling up in
and
front
just
of
for
the theater.
By the way, we're old. Tell the younger viewers,
we're old.
For listeners, Fraser Smith, I remember getting a 2 hip card Too Hip.
Oh, Too Hip was big.
Too
The
Hip
rainbow,
card.
the rainbow bumper sticker.
Yeah.
You had to collect all the different
We
ones.
did those. I had the 007 tutor.
Oh, 95.5 KLOS.
CinemaCon.
Yes, let's get back to, okay, so we've digressed. And
Back to our program,
Yeah.
now in progress.
so on the Sony presentation last night, a couple of things that really stood out to me was the Jennifer Lawrence movie looks absolutely hilarious.
Yep.
And the other film that really kind of caught my attention was Napoleon.
Oh, Napoleon, I mean, talk about a director and an actor who are world class. Everything they do is notable. And I'm going to say something here that's kind of sacrilege, but I like that studios make movies like this, even if, let's say, the last movie from that director didn't make a ton of money. Sometimes it's about being in the business with great filmmakers. And I love that.
Well, and the other side note is that this film was produced by Apple. And Sony is releasing it for them. And for a streaming service to come in a big way and support the theatrical experience, to me, sent a big message last night.
By the way, this is the message, right? Because when the pandemic hit, everybody thought the inevitable demise, or demise, as Robert Shaw said in Jaws, for the industry, for the theatrical exhibition industry, was just accelerated by the pandemic. Guess what? We all knew in this room and in this cabana that that was not going to happen, and we had faith. And now to have streamers who probably were like, oh, this is good for us. I mean, I'm not calling out anybody. I'm just saying, like, if everybody migrated home and didn't want to go out anymore to a restaurant, sporting event, or a movie theater, that's good for people, or not, companies, I should say, that provide content at home. Now they're realizing that the best business to be in is theatrical. And likewise, theatrical understands it's great to have streaming, but at a proper windowing opportunity.
Zaslav said something else that was very apropos today, and that was exactly that. He basically said, we realize at Warner Brothers that by releasing a movie theatrically, it creates more value for it by the time it gets to Max. And he specifically called that out. Now, going to the Warner's presentation, what a presentation today.
Wow, that was amazing. Stephen G., who's in the cabana right now, he and I got there at 8. Actually, Stephen G. got there a little earlier. We were there until 12:30. So it was the State of the Union address. John Fithian came out, and everyone mentioned Eric Lomas. I think that was a beautiful tribute to Eric and the respect that everyone in this industry, and we mentioned Eric on our podcast a few weeks ago, what a great person, love movies, but that was great that everyone mentioned Eric Lomas. And then beyond that, the presentation was great. I think the fact that there was so much talent out there, Oprah Winfrey came out and did an interview. And I gotta tell you something, I met the director of The Color Purple as he was walking. Blitz is his name.
Blitz, yes.
Blitz is great. And he said something that struck me. He said he has been watching that film on a small screen, editing it. He had not yet, until today, seen it on a big screen. And for a filmmaker, he said for him, this was a key moment. It blew his mind, and he's the filmmaker. Think about that for a second. If that impacted him like that, think of how it is for us, the moviegoer. But that really struck me. They said, I had never seen it on a big screen before. Blitz, who's directing this incredible musical version of The Color Purple, produced by Steven Spielberg. Oprah Winfrey came out. What a highlight.
What did you think of the Barbie footage?
I'm all in on it.
I'm with you on that.
Why do people not want to like this movie? I don't think they don't want to like it. They don't get it.
Well,
They don't get it because we don't.
when you see the title, your initial reaction is Barbie the movie. When you see the marketing that they put together and you see the footage, at that point, I'm all in.
This movie's going to be deeper. People think of Barbie, they think superficiality, they think toys. Watch out. I predict, and I know nothing other than the trailer, this is going to be as I say, like a social treatise on, there's something going on here, a cultural, I think they're going to analyze the culture through the lens of Barbie.
That's what it looks like.
And that's what it looks like to me. So don't underestimate Barbie. And by the way, that July 21st weekend, Oppenheimer, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Barbie.
But
Sing it, Stephen G.
Paul, you bring up a really good point, though, with Barbie and Oppenheimer, hoping that we get to see some footage from Oppenheimer this week. That is a great case of counter-programming, and it's going to be a huge weekend at the box office.
It's going to be amazing. And I think when we talk about diversity of content, that's what it's all about. And the more people that are in theaters, and by the way, we talk about the power of movies on the big screen. What about the power of trailers and marketing in the theater? Like, you watch a trailer on YouTube. Yeah, it's great and everything. And the sound, this is going to be my agenda. Mike, last year, our agenda was the 41 fewer films.
Yes.
Now it's...
By the way,
Yeah.
did you notice that John, in his State of the Industry today, he quoted our stats?
I know. It's the Ticket to Ride stats that nobody can deny. But I just think it's really cool that we're having this kind of a moment. And, last year we were here a year ago, and it was that sort of oxymoron of cautious optimism. This year, and Mike, we talk about this. If there's hits and flops and the box office is up and down, guess what? What does it mean, Mike?
It's normal.
Normal.
We're back to a regular cycle. And
Yeah.
when you're talking about the 10 weeks of the $30 million movies, and you talk about multiple movies in the marketplace and the gross, more to the inside baseball stuff. But as we talk about the gross going into last weekend was about 16.5% off of 2019. Everybody wants to compare it to 19.
Right.
So, okay.
Fine, we'll take it.
Paul made a really good point to me, though, over the weekend. He sent me a text and he said, make sure you let people know, though, the gap is going to increase. And why is the gap going to increase?
Because as of this recording, on April 26, 2019, a little movie called Avengers Endgame opened with $357.1 million. Still the biggest opening, unadjusted, the biggest domestic opening weekend of all time, and it made $1 billion in that opening frame worldwide. Look, I've had people call me out on Twitter for that. I'm like, yeah, the gap is going to increase. Would you say in your write-up it's going to be elastic or it's
it's going to contract. It's going to expand, and then it's
yeah, that's the business we're in.
That is exactly
people.
right. And, let's look at it when we get to the end of summer and we start getting toward the end of the year, and then we'll see where we are at that.
Guardians will be opening in a couple of weeks, and that's great. But what an anniversary tomorrow with that Avengers Endgame.
But it's a great point, and it's something that we need to make sure people are aware of, because as you start comparing the numbers, you're going to see that gap start to
And this is the long game, Mike. If you look at one weekend and it's down or whatever, and you say, oh, it's done, the industry is screwed, you're wrong. And by the way, this past weekend, think of the top 10. There are like 5 R-rated movies in there.
This week, we're seeing it is going to be the summer of the R-rated comedy. We saw last night, Sony had Machine.
Oh, yeah?
Which looks fantastic. That looks like that's going to be a lot of fun. Sony with the Jennifer Lawrence movie, which is a role that we've never seen her in before. You have Universal. We haven't seen this yet, but they have Strays, which is an R-rated.
Strays, I'm a dog lover. I cry at every dog movie. Maybe
you're not going to cry at this.
Maybe I'll be laughing at this one.
This one is produced by a friend of mine, Eric Feig. It is absolutely going to kill.
The trailer is awesome.
It looks fantastic. So I'm looking forward to whatever they screen on that. And then Lionsgate has a movie that's currently at 100% on Rotten
opening
Tomatoes.
this week.
No, the 100%. They're screening
Joyride. That's right.
They're screening Joyride on Thursday. And everybody, all my friends over at Lionsgate are telling me you have to see this movie.
Well, they got John Wick going. John Wick killed. Well, John Wick does kill.
Well, my point is you've got 4 R-rated comedies, and we haven't seen that in a while.
It's been a while, and actually people gave up on those.
Yep.
And I think it's great that those are not just for streaming anymore. And then Hello, Margaret.
Are You There, God?
Are You There, God? It's Margaret.
Yeah. By the way, fantastic movie. Doesn't even matter. Whatever the gross is, doesn't matter. It is a fantastic movie. I urge all women to take their daughters, their mothers to go see this. It is just fantastic.
How about everybody, Mike?
Everyone will enjoy it, but it has a special resonance.
No, I get that.
To mothers and daughters.
I get that. I don't mean to be flippant, but I feel like a lot of movies we get locked into.
Yes.
And it's true, though. There are certain movies that appeal to various groups, age-wise, demographics. But the bottom line is people love going to the movies. Stephen G. wants to chime in.
I'd like to call it Timothy Chalamet.
Oh,
that
wait.
Was he fantastic or what?
That kid, I want to meet this guy. Hey, here he is. Hey, Timothy, come on in. How are you in Dune and Wonka?
Yeah.
Well, Stephen G.
Timothy's not here.
I mean, double duty with Wonka and Dune 2.
Seems like the nicest.
He seems
guy
like
ever.
a great. You brought up the origin story of Wonka, and that's what this is. This is basically a prequel to the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka. And it is just an incredible story. Hugh Grant is the Oompa Loompa.
By the way, Hugh Grant. Wait, don't give anything away.
I'm not.
Spoiler alert, but Hugh Grant steals Dungeons and Dragons. Hugh Grant is on a roll right now. He's like a sandwich.
Well,
he's on a roll. I'm telling you.
He's like well, that, everybody, I know Paul's got to take off, I'm going to talk to Mitch, and I got another guest that's coming in.
I love it.
And Paul, I know you got to run to what you got.
I got some very important things to do.
Yes, you do, as you always do. But anyway,
When it is Timothy Chalamet Day.
and
It really is.
we'll probably do a recap of the last 2 days of CinemaCon. We'll either do it this week or we'll drop one Monday morning.
Absolutely. Mike, my amazing co-host on Ticket to Ride, Comscore's podcast featuring me, Paul Garabedian, senior media analyst, and Mark Polidorus.
Everybody always gives me a hard time because in the weekend write-up, I always put my good friend Paul Garabedian, or I say my esteemed colleague.
How about my...
You got to give me a new one because...
I don't know. He shall... Wait, forget it.
We'll figure it out. All right. It's been a long couple...
Hey, wait, it's Jeremy Devine.
By the way,
Hey,
there's Jeremy. Okay, hold on. I'm going to talk to Jeremy.
All right, I'm going to go.
Okay, there you go.
And that's a perfect segue to Jeremy Devine.
Perfect. It's Tuesday night. We're well into the convention now, and I'm joined by a good friend, colleague for many years, Jeremy Devine. And Jeremy, what's a little bit of your background?
Oh, my background covers all kinds of parts of the business. I was a distributor for Paramount for many years, and then I went over to the, as they call it, the dark side, which was exhibition, went to Rave and helped build that into a big circuit as a marketing guide, and then I became a vendor, worked for MovieTickets.com.
Who do you represent today?
Well, today I'm representing MoviePhone, which is a legacy brand which is back in a big way.
When you say back in a big way, what are some of the things MoviePhone's doing today? Because obviously online ticketing has replaced the 777 film and that kind of thing. So how is MoviePhone reinventing itself for today?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Mike. And MoviePhone is a legacy brand that people like. They remember the Seinfeld episode. They remember this was a very popular brand. But as you said, we had to change. So exhibitors are perfectly capable of doing their own ticketing. So what happened was Cleveland O'Neill bought MoviePhone out of bankruptcy. Turned out when he looked at it and pulled back the covers, it still had millions of people going to the website. So he said, I've got a television show. It's cleared in every market in the country. How do I merge a TV show that's all about movies with a legacy brand like MoviePhone? And we decided to become a referral service. So now what happens is if you're watching our TV, if you're on our website, if you're on MoviePhone social, what happens is you can get a QR code or you can do a geo search, and it takes you to an exhibitor who has their own ticketing functionality.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's really a referral network. It becomes a win-win.
And it's tied in with the television network that he's got put together.
Correct. So most exhibitors, of course, have no real access to TV. 100% of our browsers, fans, followers, and viewers are movie fans. So what we like to do is we have a real system where it's just like put in where you are, your zip code, the IP address comes up, and they say, okay, let's go to this exhibitor, and you can buy tickets there. Because again, the exhibitors are perfectly well adapted to doing their own ticketing. So we are a network of referral system that exists in a movie-centric ecosystem.
I like it. Now let me ask you something. So how many of these conventions, whether it's CinemaCon and for us old timers going back to Show West, how many have you been to?
It's about 30.
Do you remember your first one?
I do, and I came here with Paramount, and I was stuck in meetings all the time. But it was very heady stuff to be able to meet celebrities because I was with Paramount. You go into the green room, and I still remember right after Basic Instinct, I was sitting next to Sharon Stone in an event. I actually knew it was her birthday, and we got to talking, and she smiled. We talked about her birthday and all this kind of stuff. And at least 50 exhibitors came up to me later and said, what'd you talk about?
I love that. Well, as you can hear the thumping and the noise behind us, we're actually sitting poolside right now. It's the Tuesday night party sponsored by Fandango and your friends at
Paper Airplane.
That's right. That's right. We're actually one of the sponsors tonight, and this has been a lot of fun. So far, Jeremy, you've been to both presentations.
I've been to Sony and Warner Brothers, correct.
And what stood out for you so far?
Well, first of all, what stood out for me is the wonderful spirit of how excited distribution and exhibition is in general, because what's happened is we know that the theatrical market is going to be preserved and things look good. So I really like seeing some footage of Barbie. I think it's very cute. I'm just a sucker for this stuff. You had Ridley Scott's new film, Napoleon, had a humongous
Well, and
battle.
let's talk about Napoleon for a second, because there's something very significant about that. And Sony's going to be releasing that in October, I believe. But it's a film that was produced by Apple Films.
Correct. And what's great about that is Apple, obviously, well, let's put it this way. I don't think money's a big issue with Apple. So what they realized was this is a theatrical experience. Again, to use a bad pun, they can get several bites out of the apple. So they just
That was a really bad point.
It was very
really bad. But apropos.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You're kind. Anyway, so yeah, that's the kind of film that everybody knows has to be seen on a big screen.
Well, that's great. Hey, just walking in right now, I'm very proud to introduce to you the managing director of CinemaCon. I'm joined by two esteemed colleagues. On my right, I have Andrew Sunshine, who runs Show East, and on my left, I have Mitch Neuhauser, who's running CinemaCon. This is talk about star-studded event. Hello, Mitchell.
Hi, Mike.
So, Mitchell, I was in the Coliseum today.
Yep.
I did not get to sit in my regular seat in the lower bowl because when I got there, it was full.
Packed.
I couldn't sit in the second level.
Packed.
I was in the peanut gallery. I have been to every one of these. How many delegates do we have?
We are back to 2019 levels, and we have upwards of around 3,300, 3,400 fully registered delegates. And the Coliseum holds 4,200, but when you take out the seats that we block out, we're probably down to like 3,700. So, and then if you factor in when the studios bring a couple of hundred
Right.
who are just there for their presentation, add that on to things, and we're standing room only.
It was, I was not expecting that today. So last night, let's talk about the convention. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, I am blown away.
Look, I'm just the conductor, okay? And I know how to orchestrate and organize, and I can conduct an orchestra, but I can't play first violin. And the success is surrounding yourselves with a great group of people who can play first violin. The studios, unbelievable. People come and they give me credit and they thank me. That's because they support exhibition.
Well, first of all, you have a fantastic team. Everybody except Matt Pollock, because he's actually pulling for those Edmonton Oilers
I know,
tonight. So
I know.
Pollock and I are on a little bit of a break
I don't
right
blame
now.
you.
So yesterday, going into the Sony presentation, I was blown away because I walked in and I had never seen the Coliseum that full on a Monday night before.
Yeah.
I thought what they showed last night was really spectacular.
They picked a great selection, and they ended with Napoleon, and it was awe-inspiring.
And they brought the goods, as they would say.
Yeah.
And then this morning, so we come down, and I thought the state of the industry, as given by Mr. Fithian and Charlie, was really good. I thought Chris's tribute to Eric was fantastic, and it's been. The listeners know Eric Lomas, who was the president of MGM, suddenly passed away a couple of weeks ago, and his presence has definitely been felt.
Yes, absolutely.
So we go into the state of the industry, which is, I've got to say, and I was telling some other people this, that all the conventions I've been to, this is the first time I don't remember there being any underlying kind of sensitive issues between exhibition and distribution.
I think we're at the point now where the friction with streamers, it's at the point right now where, hey, you want to release movies and make a good amount of money in our theaters? We're happy to have you. And if you don't, it's your loss. And Amazon and Apple, we have two movies that we're going to showcase this week from Apple. And Amazon's on track. They just weren't ready to be a part of our show this year. And I'm thinking that next year, I'm hopeful that we may have more of an Apple and Amazon presence. I think the road is possibly heading into that direction.
I agree with that completely. And looking at the footage from Napoleon last
I want
night.
you to know, I've been dealing with the Apple people on the Marty Scorsese lunch on Thursday.
Yeah.
They are fantastic.
Well, one of my good friends, Dylan Wiley, he's the head of marketing
I've
over
been
there.
dealing with Dylan back and forth. I mean, when Dylan told me that he goes back to the New Line days with like Tucker and me.
Yeah.
And it's like, Dylan, our paths have had to have crossed over the years. And he's here. I've not seen him.
I haven't seen him yet. I'm supposed to see him tomorrow.
He's here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, Dylan he's a down-to-earth guy, really creative.
He's been great. He's been great to deal with.
And then going into the Warner's presentation today, I thought David Zaslav was a top executive speaking from the heart about what the theatrical world means to him.
Look, when David came on board,
he made some very tough decisions that public had a little bit of an outcry against in the media, but he's a man on a mission. He knows what he seems to want. And one of those great things that he wants is his love of movies to be shown in theaters on the big screen. And he emphasized that today, and he has a plan, and he was fantastic.
Going back, so, he was fantastic. And then probably the surprise of the convention to this point, Oprah Winfrey comes out. And the Oprah Winfrey Show actually broke out on stage.
It did.
I think you forget what a great interview
She's
she
great.
is.
It was priceless. It was wonderful.
And it was really fantastic. I was really impressed by that. And it really, I think, highlighted the color purple.
So at CinemaCon, it's about putting certain films on the map and getting exhibition hyped and excited. And I think that's a film that people just were wowed.
I mean, it looked great. And then, we got to see footage from Barbie.
Yeah.
And that was, and again, Mitch kind of undersells himself about what he has to do, and corralling all of these studios and all of the vendors and putting on the show of this magnitude and this high profile, not an easy thing to do.
The most challenging part of our job is our initial meetings with the studios and locking them into a date and time. That's the political tightrope that's the most challenging. But once we cross that bridge, it's all administrative, it's operational. The studios, what people don't understand, is that Matt and I will meet with the studios. And let's say Warner Brothers says, we're going Tuesday morning. Once they say they're going from Tuesday morning from 10:05 to 12:25, Matt and I are out of it. We've blocked in the time. It's Warner Brothers show. But the effort starts months ago. The amount of people, labor, expense is mind-boggling. Matt and I get it, but the people in the audience, they don't fully comprehend what it takes to put on that show. And Warner Brothers, Sony, Disney, all of these other supporting companies, they have day jobs. They have day jobs to take movies, market them, and distribute them to exhibition. Then we come along, we upset the apple cart, they're not upset, and they give us the time of day, and it's an amazing thing.
And then finishing up on the Warner.
You know, Mike.
No,
you know from your days of Lionsgate.
It's a huge undertaking to put one of these on from a studio standpoint. And the coordination is not just making sure the film is right or making sure you have the right titles. The second part of the problem is, you got to coordinate all the talent. How you gonna
Oh
get
my
them
God.
there?
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. It is just mind-boggling. And then, again, what people don't understand is when you bring talent in, there's baggage that comes with that. The people, the hand-holding, the security, the makeup. But it's great. It's been a great week so far. It's been a great 2 days.
It is.
We have 2 days to go.
I just want to compliment you and your team.
Thank
It's
you.
been fantastic. How many years now have you been putting the shows on?
Well, I started with Bob Sunshine in 1981. And then we put on our first show East in like 1984. And then in 1992, created Cinema Expo. 3 years later, Cine Asia. Then Bob's company was sold. Then they bought Show West. So we did Show West from 2001 to 2010. And then NATO decided, we used to run our own show. We could do it again. And they brought me on. And in 2011, CinemaCon started. And we've had what should have been 13 shows. But you have to back out the one for 2020.
Well, the thing I always say, so working with Mitch, and I've worked with Mitch going back 25 years, it feels like, and we've worked on everything from the Show West shows to the Show East show. Mitch is always the most accommodating guy, and it didn't matter where you were on the pecking order of studios, always treating everybody with the same amount of respect.
There's a reason for that.
You're a really good guy.
Whatever the studios ask, we just say yes. Because saying yes and figuring out how to accommodate what we just agreed to do is easier than saying no.
I like that. Well, anyway, guys, I'm going to let Mitch get back to running his convention because he's got, 5,000 of his closest friends roaming around Caesar's Palace right now. So, Mitch, thank you for
It's my
stopping
pleasure.
by. And
Great.
I am so impressed with this show. This is absolutely awesome.
Thank you, Mike. It's been great, and you've been a great supporter, and what you've done with your company is incredible, and the industry's back. We're back.
We are back. And this is, I was telling somebody the other day, this is a week of celebration and a week. It's not even a week of optimism. It's a week of the movie business is alive and kicking.
It is. And even though our industry is fiercely competitive, okay, all the studios and exhibition will agree that good movies, no matter who's releasing it, is good for everybody. It gets people into the movie-going mood. So they're supporting all the studios, they're supporting all of theater circuits, and that's why our tagline is celebrating the movie-going
And
experience.
just to let everybody know too, real quick before you leave, run down a few of the names that are getting some awards this week.
So we have Zendaya, Chris Nolan and his producing partner wife Emma Thomas, Melissa McCarthy, the ensemble cast of Lionsgate's Joyride, which went through the roof at South by Southwest.
By the way, I haven't seen it yet. Can't wait to see it on Thursday.
Chris Meledandri, who is obviously riding high with Super Mario Brothers. Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback, who are starring in Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
It's a star-packed week.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Mitch, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Always good.